Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. A massive round of Premier League fixtures is almost upon us this coming weekend. So that means we've got in store for you today another Premier League predictions video. 10 intriguing games coming up this weekend that is going to affect the entirety of the Premier League table as the run into the conclusion of this wacky and roller coaster like Premier League season draws to a close. We're going to be talking all about the games. We're going to be giving predictions on all of the games. But before we go any further in doing all of that, I would like to remind you to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And of course, encourage you to get involved in the comment section as well. Talk to us about the games, give your thoughts, your comments, opinions. But most of all, of course, we want your predictions on all of the games that are coming up this weekend. I'm sure they'll make for great and interesting reading down below in the comment section. Otherwise, without further ado, let's get on with the video and let's get on to the predictions. No lunchtime game this week, so we're going to dive straight into the 3 o'clockers on Saturday. First up, we have got a big clash between Bournemouth and Chelsea at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth, the Cherries, I don't think a lot of people would have predicted them to stay up this season. So full credit to them, full credit to Gary O'Neill. It's been an incredible season for Bournemouth. A lot of people predicted them to go down, straight back down to the Championship after obviously returning this season to England's top flight division. But despite obviously hitting a few bumps in the road and obviously beginning the season with Scott Parker, ending the season Gary O'Neill, they've done fantastically well to obviously keep their heads above water, it seems. And it seems like they're going to go on and secure that kind of spot, as in they're going to secure themselves in the Premier League for another campaign. They come up against a Chelsea side who everybody is seemingly kicking while they're down. And let's face it, we're going to enjoy it while they're down because eventually it seems that with money and everything that they've got, they'll eventually get it right in the end. But Frank Lampard is finding it tough. Chelsea fans are finding it tough. It's seemingly a never-ending season for Chelsea right now, in the season that they've desperately wanted to end, but it just seems to get worse and worse with each passing game week. They lost to Arsenal 3-1 earlier on this week, and now they come up against the Bournemouth side, who can be pretty tough to beat on their day, as what a lot of teams are finding out. Bournemouth have the potential here to leapfrog Chelsea, and I don't think a lot of people would have predicted that at the beginning of the season. This one could be a very difficult game for both sides in terms of the players that Chelsea have and the potential that they have in terms of the hard work rate of what Bournemouth possess. Which way do I see it going? Look, Chelsea probably still are the slight favourites. The slightest of favourites, despite the fact that obviously their form. I think the form of Bournemouth may see them get something in this game, and that is why I want to go for a draw. I want to say that Bournemouth and Chelsea finish 1-1 come the final whistle. Next up, we come to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where surprisingly Tottenham are going to be hosting Crystal Palace. Massive game for both clubs this one. You've got a Tottenham side who are still looking for their first win under Ryan Mason, but are coming up against the Crystal Palace side who are kind of in form right now, and full credit to Roy Hodgson and Crystal Palace. Since his return, they've been scoring plenty of goals, showing a lot of attacking intent, and have been pretty interesting and intriguing to watch, obviously, since his comeback. The issue that they've got is this Spurs side, is that should Palace go 2 or 3 goals up in the game, and let's face it, they need to start explosively, right out the blocks, very quickly, because obviously in the past couple of weeks, Tottenham have been conceding plenty of goals within the first half of games. If Palace can do that, that's when Spurs wake up. In the past couple of weeks, Spurs have found themselves 5-0 down after 20 minutes, in which that game was completely over by then. They eventually lost 6-1 to Newcastle. They went 2-0 down against Manchester United before managing to claw it back to 2-2. And then last weekend, they found themselves 3-0 down to Liverpool within the first 15 minutes, but managed to claw it back to 3-3, only for the most Spursy thing to happen, in which they managed to concede very, very late on, deep in injury time, for Liverpool to take all 3 points. Spurs don't come alive until the end, until they're 2 or 3 goals down. And against this Crystal Palace side that have been showing a lot of attacking intent, if Spurs don't sort out their defensive issues, they're going to find themselves on the receiving end of yet another big scoring game. But Ryan Mason's side have shown that they do have fight still within them at times. They still have the quality and the ability to obviously hurt opposition teams. They've still got the likes of Heung-min Son, who seems to have found a bit of form towards the end of the season. And of course, they still have Harry Kane. This one could be another high-scoring game in my opinion too. I'm going to go with a 5-goal thriller here. And I'm going to give the edge only slightly to Crystal Palace given their form. But I wouldn't be surprised if Tottenham managed to do take something from this. So I'm going to go 3-2 to Roy Hodgson's side. Next up, a Midlands clash at Molineux as Wolves take on Aston Villa. Wolves obviously will be licking their wounds from the absolute hammering they took at Brighton last weekend, in which the Seagulls beat Wolves by 6-0. They'll be looking to bounce back in a big way this weekend against an Aston Villa side who'll be looking to bounce back from defeat themselves. They only lost by the 1 goal to Manchester United, but it still knocked them off their run that they have been picking up in recent weeks. Unai Emery's side will definitely fancy their chances against the Wolves side, who may be either a bit vulnerable or maybe, just maybe, Wolves might spring a surprise here and shock Villa in a way that will obviously give them the 3 points. I think Aston Villa will take it. I think last week was maybe a one-off in terms of a poor result. Unai Emery, I think, will have got them hard work on the training ground this week, and that is why I think that they'll come back. Ollie Watkins is in some good form right now, so I feel like it will be a win for Aston Villa in this game, which is why I'm going to say it's going to end 3-1 to the away side. Next up, we're at Anfield. It is Liverpool taking on Brentford in Saturday's evening clash. Massive game at Anfield. Massive game at Anfield. You've got Liverpool who are putting together a bit of a run right now. Brentford, who have been a little bit hit and miss in recent weeks, but this game they will fancy their chances in, I'm sure. Liverpool's high line and their sort of vulnerable defence, I think, will play into the hands of Brentford here. They're obviously at Anfield, so you would say Liverpool are the favourites, but I think that if Brentford are on form, if Brentford are making the right decisions in the final third, and they execute their game plan to perfection, they will definitely cause Liverpool issues. All they need to do in this game is sit back, soak up the pressure, make it difficult for Liverpool to break them down, and break, counter-attack, and make the right decisions. They can definitely hurt Liverpool. That's what Tottenham did last week to an extent. That is what Brentford can do in this game. They can exploit Liverpool's vulnerable defence and their high line and obviously cause a lot of damage there. How do I see the game going though? Well, with Liverpool's attacking talent seemingly finding a bit of form, the form of Trent Alexander-Arnold in particular, who's back to his creative best and his attacking best, shall we say. This one could be another high-scoring game in my opinion, with obviously the vulnerabilities of Liverpool's defence and obviously their scintillating attack at times. So that's why I'm going to go with a draw. I don't ever like to back against my club, but it seems to have worked in the past where I've backed against them and they've gone on to win. So I'm hoping this one will be again, because I see the weaknesses that Brentford can exploit. I'm going to go with a draw, and I'm going to say that this game will end 2-2 come the final whistle, but obviously secretly hoping Liverpool get the victory. Moving on to Sunday's games, and it is going to be a massive clash at St James's Park. Massive, massive, massive clash at St James's Park as Newcastle in third place take on Arsenal, who are back to being top of the table after their 3-1 win midweek against Chelsea. But of course, the advantage of the Premier League title race is still very firmly within Manchester City's grasp should they decide to take it. Look, Newcastle are in some mad form right now. They are in some brilliant form right now. Arsenal got back to winning ways against Chelsea, as what a lot of teams tend to do this season, with all due respect. But they will have needed that. Arsenal have needed that win, especially a massive game like that, London derby, big game against Chelsea to get them back on form. The issue that Arsenal have got is they've got to go to St James's Park and get a win. Only one team this season has managed to go to St James's Park and get a win, and obviously that was Liverpool. Massive game ahead. Tough game ahead. I sense it being another high-scoring game, to be honest, because of Arsenal's defensive vulnerabilities, and also the form of Callum Wilson right now is something not to be underestimated. Eddie Howe has seemingly transformed him. And Alexander Isak are two of, outside of maybe Erling Haaland, of course, and Harry Kane, are two of the most informed strikers right now in this division. Arsenal will have to try and keep them quiet, whether it's both at the same time or whether it's one after the other. It's going to be interesting, but also Newcastle's defence is pretty solid as well, and whether they're going to be able to keep out the likes of Bukayo Saka, Gabriel Martinelli and Gabriel Jesus is going to be another question. This one could be a very intriguing game, one that could go any which way, but I think that with the home form of Newcastle, I think that at the very least they're going to pick up a point here. Having said that, I actually do see Newcastle nicking it. I actually do see Newcastle taking all 3 points, and I think they may have the slight edge over Arsenal that will put the ascendancy firmly within Manchester City's grasp even more. So I'm going to go with maybe a bit of a shock result. Maybe not so much given how the season's gone, but I'm going to go with a Newcastle win. I'm going to go with Newcastle win at St James's Park, and I'm going to say that the Magpies come out of this one as 3-2 winners. Next up, we're at the London Stadium. It is West Ham United taking on Manchester United. Big Premier League encounter here. Historic Premier League encounter, of course, between these two sides. Look, West Ham, they're not out the relegation battle just yet, but they very well could be. They're not out of it just yet mathematically, but you do feel like they're going to be the ones to escape that kind of that potential fate if that happens. Against the Manchester United side, that away from home are solid enough. They're not perfect. They're obviously better at home than they are away. But West Ham have the potential to make it difficult for United, and it's whether or not United can dig in and get the victory, which they've managed to do all season, to be fair. There have been times this season where I don't think United have played particularly well, but managed to dig in to get a result, and that is a skill in itself, and that is something that should be applauded, and obviously not be taken as a bit of a criticism. As far as this game goes, though, look, that midfield battle is going to be key. Souček and Rice up against the likes of Casemiro and Christian Eriksen, Bruno Fernandes, whoever it is going to be in that midfield is going to be interesting to watch. And then it's all about whether West Ham can make the best decisions in the final third and whether they can be strong and resolute enough to keep out the likes of Marcus Rashford and Bruno Fernandes. I'm going to go with Manchester United, though, to win. It could be a draw, but I think also when you consider that maybe West Ham might have bigger things on the horizon in terms of the Europa Conference League semi-final that they're in. Maybe they might have one eye on that rather than this game. Maybe they might try and be a bit damage limitation in this game and just see what happens. It'd be interesting to see how West Ham do approach this game. But I think Man United win regardless. And that is why I'm going to say that this game will end 2-1 to the Erik ten Hag side. Now moving on to Monday's games, and first up we have got Fulham taking on Leicester at Craven Cottage. Massive game for Leicester this one, of course. They are in the relegation zone. They are in desperate need of points, and obviously with the teams around them this weekend facing some unfavourable games, shall we say, this one could be something that they need to take advantage of. Fulham, obviously at the time of recording, they play tonight against Liverpool, so we'll have to wait and see what result that game throws up. But at the same time, Fulham are there for the taking. They are very difficult at home. We get that. They gave City a bit of a run for their money last weekend, but Leicester are fighting for something, and they need to fight for something, and they need to get some points on the board if they are to get Premier League survival. Maybe the kind of form that Jamie Vardy's been showing in the past couple of games may be crucial for them going forward. As for Fulham, again, been a bit hit and miss, and I say that right now with obviously the knowledge that they're playing my team tonight, so fingers crossed that Liverpool can actually do a job there. But at the same time, they'll make it difficult for Leicester. It won't be a complete rollover for them, of course, but they've produced a very solid mid-table finish, it seems. And I don't think a lot of people, again, would have predicted that at the beginning of the campaign. As far as this game goes, look, Fulham are still a tough side to beat. They mix up being direct with a bit of tactical football in the middle. They're strong, they're physical, direct at times. Leicester are going to have to find a way to combat that and find their way to play to the strengths of the likes of James Maddison and Jamie Vardy, their key players in particular. I'm going to go with a draw. I'm going to say that this game will end 2-2 come the final whistle. Moving on to the Amex Stadium, we have got Brighton taking on Everton. Massive game again for Everton because, let's face it, they're again another team in the relegation zone in that relegation battle coming up against a team that maybe they are not favourites to beat. Brighton back in form after last week's thumping 6-0 victory. And let's face it, they're probably going to win this game as well. Everton need a Sean Dyche masterclass. Everton needs something to hang their hats on for the end of the season to try and fight their way out of this relegation battle. I don't see it happening in this game. I think Brighton will be too good for Everton, and that is why I see Brighton winning this game by 2-0. Our penultimate game will see a massive relegation clash at the City Ground in Nottingham for Nottingham Forest's game against Southampton. This could be the final weekend that realistically Southampton have left to play for. After this weekend, should they lose to Forest and should other results like Leicester and like Everton maybe go against them, they could pretty much be down, with the only thing saving them being goal difference. By the time that the end of the games play out this weekend, Southampton pretty much could be down, and we pretty much could have sealed Southampton's fate down to the Championship. Obviously, a win here might give them a bit of hope, but it seems that they are going to be going down. The writing does seem to be on the wall for Southampton going forward, and it's going to be intriguing to see what happens going forward for them. For the Nottingham Forest, though, it's pretty much all to play for. They've got a lot more hope and a lot more optimism, I guess you'd say, than what Southampton have, and they'll definitely fancy their chances of getting a win here, and let's face it, they desperately need to, with obviously Leicester playing Fulham and Brighton playing Leicester and Brighton playing Everton. You'd imagine that Forest will have the favourable game out of those three teams, and obviously with Leeds playing Manchester City as well, that only adds to that as well. So Forest desperately need to take advantage of the other teams that are around them that probably will not be picking up points this weekend. And so much so, I actually see them winning this one. I think the home form and the home crowd will be right on them this game, and I think that they'll drive that forward and use that kind of energy to produce a very good result and maybe even a good performance on top of it. They just need results though, do Forest, and that's why I see them winning by 2-1. And finally, it's the return of Sam Allardyce in what I have chosen to be the biggest game of this round of Premier League fixtures, the biggest highlight of this round of Premier League fixtures. Ideally, I probably should have chosen Newcastle Arsenal, but I've actually gone with Manchester City's game against Leeds because although I see it being a foregone conclusion, seeing Sam Allardyce back in the Premier League, a new manager bounce for Leeds, potentially on the cards, a classic Sam Allardyce performance. Just the potential of that thwarting Pep Guardiola this weekend was too much for me not to put it as my personal biggest game of this weekend. Look, City at home at the Etihad. It's seemingly a foregone conclusion that they will win this game. And with the Real Madrid game that they've got to contend with in the Champions League on the horizon, Pep Guardiola's message to his team will basically be, go out there, get the job done as soon as possible, put this team to the sword, and then I'll start rotating some of them key players for that massive game against Real Madrid coming up next week. In saying that, it would be perfectly written in the stars just for another twist in this Premier League title race for Sam Allardyce to come in on his first game of the season, sit 10 men behind the ball, or maybe even all 11 men behind the ball, and play out for a draw. Perfect Sam Allardyce performance, and let's face it, Leeds need them in their final games of this season because Leeds that are facing massive threats of relegation. This game doesn't help them in the slightest because they are coming up against a goal machine in Erling Haaland. They are coming up against a fierce opposition in Manchester City who don't seem like they're stopping anytime soon. They are finding ways to once again put together unbelievable winning runs again. And as much as I want that Sam Allardyce masterclass to come into effect this weekend, as much as I want Leeds to take points off of Manchester City, I unfortunately do not see it happening. And that is why I've predicted City to win and for Pep Guardiola's side to run out of this game as 3-0 winners. But of course, as I always say, these are just thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, predictions of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of all of the games that are coming up this weekend? Another round of exciting and intriguing Premier League fixtures. What are your own thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, what are your predictions on all the games that are coming up this weekend? I'm sure they'll make for great and interesting reading down below in the comments section. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new, want to see more content like this. Both things are always and forever be greatly appreciated, and as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch, this has been another Premier League predictions video, and I will see you all again soon in another video.